everything she did. She didn't have her doctorate yet, but was still working on it, taking a class or two every semester. At 38, she was satisfied with her life, and for the last 7 years she had been working on a book. She wanted it to be the definitive work on the subject of voting and women's rights around the world. While getting her master's, Brigitte had written countless papers about the topic. Her thesis argued that how countries handled the voting rights of women defined who they were as a nation. She felt that the vote was crucial to women's rights. Her colleagues who had read what she'd written so far were impressed by her eloquence, but not surprised by her thoroughness and diligence. One criticism of her work was that she sometimes got so involved in the minutiae of what she was studying that she neglected the big picture. She tended to get caught up in the details. She was friendly and kind, trustworthy and responsible. She was a deeply caring person and extremely hard-working and thorough about everything she did. The only complaint that her best friend Amy Lewis made of her to her face as a rule was that she lacked passion. She intellectualized everything and followed her brain more than her heart. Brigitte thought passion, as Amy referred to it, was a flaw, not a quality, a dangerous thing. It made you lose perspective and direction. Brigitte liked staying on course and keeping her goals in plain view. She didn't like rocking the boat or taking chances on anything. Risk-taking was not her style. She was someone you could count on, not someone who would act impulsively or without a great deal of thought. And she herself readily admitted that she was slow to make decisions while she weighed all the pros and cons. Brigitte estimated that she was halfway through her book. She planned to speed up the process and finish it in 5 years, around the time she got her PhD. 12 years spent on a book covering such an important subject seemed reasonable to her, since she was also working full-time and taking classes toward her doctorate. She was not in any rush. She had decided that if she completed both her doctoral degree and her book by the time she was 43, she'd be pleased. Her steady, relentless, unruffled way of dealing with things sometimes drove her friend Amy crazy. Brigitte was not a fast-track kind of person and hated change. Amy thought Brigitte should live life to the fullest and leap into things more spontaneously. Amy was a trained marriage and family counselor and social worker. She ran the university's counseling office and liberally offered Brigitte her advice and opinions. They were total opposites, and yet best friends. Amy dealt with everything, emotional, intellectual, and professional, at full speed. Brigitte was tall, thin, almost angular, with jet-black hair, dark eyes, high cheekbones, and olive skin. She looked almost Middle Eastern or Italian, although her heritage was Irish and French. The Irish heritage of her father accounted for her jet-black hair. Amy was small and blonde with a tendency to put on weight if she didn't exercise, and she had all the passion about life that she claimed Brigitte didn't. Brigitte liked to accuse her friend of being hyper, with the attention span of a flea, which they both knew wasn't true. But Amy took on new projects constantly and handled multitasking with ease. While Brigitte had struggled with one epic tome, Amy had published 3 nonfiction books about dealing with kids. She had 2 children of her own, although she wasn't married. On her 40th birthday, after years of unsuccessful affairs with graduate students younger than she was, or with married professors, she had gone to a sperm bank. And at 44, she had 2 boys, now 1 and 3, who drove her happily crazy. She regularly nagged Brigitte to start having babies of her own. She told Brigitte that at 38 she had no time to waste. Her eggs were getting older by the minute. Brigitte was far more casual about it and wasn't worried. Modern science made it possible to conceive far older than in her mother's day, and she felt confident about it, despite Amy's dire warnings that she was putting motherhood off for too long. Brigitte knew she'd have children one day, and more than likely marry Ted, although they never discussed it. There was something about living in the protected atmosphere of academia that made you feel, or Brigitte anyway, that she was going to be young forever. Amy always snapped her back to reality by saying they were middle-aged. It was impossible.